Da-da-da-dum. Hello, we're back once again here in our cartoon studio. Myself, Scott Evans, and my brother and fellow head of Digital Puppets, Anthony Evans.
Hello, and welcome.
Who is the one who's in charge of making the show run so smoothly. So if anything goes wrong, it's his fault. Anyway, tonight we are looking forward to interviewing another professional from the world of animation. And as always, we are live. So as usual, we are streaming on YouTube. But for the first time ever, we are also streaming live to Twitch. So if anyone is actually watching us on Twitch, or if this is even working at the moment, hello. Right, please do feel free to get involved with the conversation on either platform, and we will answer your questions as soon as possible. Now, joining us tonight is director, animator, and producer, Mr. Tim Rauch, who's been involved in many exciting projects, but we'll let him tell you all about those himself during the interview. Which will be starting shortly. But the project that he's currently involved in is a Kickstarter for an original 2D cartoon called Mushroom Park. And before we bring Tim into the studio, can you roll tape on the introduction video for his campaign?
I will do. Okay, let's...
Hi, I'm Tim Rauch.
Alright.
Hello.
Okay, let's get it on first. Here we go.
Oh my
just
God.
make sure the audio's on.
We'll wait for
An
one
animator
week
in Los
and it all
Angeles.
goes.
You may know my work from StoryCorps, the animated series, 25 short films we made for PBS that earned a Peabody and 4 Emmy nominations. I most recently directed the season finale of Bojack Horseman on Netflix, and now I'm doing something different. A story that's about human connections. We don't know how long we're going to be here for, but we do know we're going to be with the people around us, our friends, our family. That's what matters. Human connections are built on love and forgiveness, and that's what this film is about. Derek is played by Betsy Sodaro.
Yep, she's drying up already. That there is one dead frog.
Playing Ranger is Shondalia White.
Come back to life right now, or I'm gonna be very upset with you.
We have Bill Wray of Ren and Stimpy providing amazing work, full of color and texture that are going to blow your mind.
These days I'm known as William Wray, fine artist. But he's kind of dragged me back into animation because the cartoon project we're doing is like fine art to me.
Our music is being composed by Chad Cannon. What we need now is your help. $20,000 to finish the film. Your likes, your shares, your dollars. It all helps get us to our ultimate goal. 15 minutes of mind-blowing, eye-popping, character-driven, music-driven, beautiful, visual masterpiece style animation. So thanks for watching. I hope you like what you've seen.
What? It's a blessing. Mwah.
Yep.
So, there we go. Should we bring Tim onto the...
Yeah, let's bring Tim into the studio, onto our TV here. Hello.
Hello! Hello!
Hello, Tim. Thank you very much for joining us in our cartoon studio. We're really looking forward to finding out about your latest project, Mushroom Park, which is currently doing very nicely on Kickstarter. But before we get to that particular project, we always like to rewind a little first, actually rewind a lot, and find out how our guests got started in animation. Where did it all begin? What was the spark that made you think that this could actually be a career for you?
When I was a little kid, I obviously loved animation. I think we all do when we're kids. And we hopefully love it now when we're adults as well. But I think it's nearly universal when you're a kid. And I really, really loved the Disney movies that were big when I was a kid, you know, Aladdin and Lion King and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I saw. I actually was more restricted in terms of what I could see on TV because we didn't have cable and that type of thing. So most some big Disney movies and really, really loved them and wanted to be an animator. And went to school and studied illustration. Actually, I had been teaching myself animation as a kid and kind of stepped back from it when I went to university. And But I found I was unsatisfied with the other types of art that I was making, and I really, really wanted to get back into animation, into storytelling, and was able to do that soon after graduating, working briefly at a little studio called Little Airplane in New York, and then teaming up with my brother to create the StoryCorps series, which was 25 short films we made for PBS and a Thanksgiving special. And those were very successful very quickly for us. So thankfully, I now have a career in animation, I guess.
And was your brother also an animator, like, or was it like were you the animator and he did something separate and you put together each other's skills to work together, or was he, also involved in animation? If that makes sense.
So Mike is usually more the producing and co-directing side of things. So he has a creative mind and he understands a lot of concepts like composition and color and design and things like that. But even though he studied art as well, he's kind of moved away from making it himself. And he certainly never really animated. He did that a little bit when we were kids, but he was really important in co-directing. So just helping make the big creative decisions. And color, I was terrible at color when we started out. I think I'm a little better now. And then communicating with other people. Mike usually handled all of that for us as a business, because we were running Rauch Brothers Animation as a studio for 7 or 8, maybe 10 years. I'm not sure exactly how to quantify it. But yeah, and so now he's actually an executive at Cartoon Network. So he's more the business side and I'm more the creative side.
So he's more the Roy Disney and you're more the Walt Disney of the Rauch Brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Bit like me and Anthony, isn't it?
Well, me being the creative one. You mean?
No, me being the creative one, and you trying to get all this thing to work. Anyway, right. So, can you tell us about you? You briefly mentioned there StoryCorps. That was one of the projects that you worked on with your brother, and obviously that's been really, because you won was it a Peabody's award for that? Yeah,
Peabody Award, which I don't know. That's not one of the most well-known awards. It's in the U.S. It's sort of a catch-all, like Oscar for making media in general. Just it kind of, there's no limit on how many Peabodys are given out per year, and there's no real way to apply for it. It's just a particular institution in Georgia that sort of scours all of media that was created for a year and awards whatever they feel like was something that was really unique and special and outstanding. So you'll get Peabodys given to big shows like Stephen Colbert, or smaller things like us. And specifically, that was our 9/11 shorts that were awarded the Peabody.
Was that the one with
so we did 3
two brothers?
Yes. Yep. Well, there's 3 of them. So there were 3 different shorts that were about people who died on 9/11. StoryCorps is this big oral history project that's trying to gather all kinds of stories about American life and bring them in audio format to the public through the radio and now through our animations through TV and the web. And they were trying to gather at least one story for each life lost on 9/11.
Yeah.
And we did 3 of them as animations, and that was part of the series. And yeah, if you go now to the 9/11,
so
there's that delay you warned me about
before we started. Yeah, every episode. So you carry on. People must think I'm the most rude interview ever.
No, not at all. You guys are great. If those shorts are now playing at the 9/11 museum, if you happen to be in New York, go there. You can see them there. Everything is online. Everything we've done is online. So.
Yeah. And when you was working together prior, when you had the Rauch Brothers studio, was you working mainly on your own projects, or were you working on more commercial projects?
I would say 85% of our work, it felt that way anyway, at least, was StoryCorps. And for the first many years, it was, maybe even 90 or 95% of what we were doing with StoryCorps. And to me, that's somewhere between a personal project and a project for somebody else. And then the other work was, we would do little spots like a pilot for Nickelodeon. We didn't create it, but we just were the animation studio to execute on it. Or little shorts for Mad when that was a show on Cartoon Network, or I don't know, various other things like that that come across your way when you're a small studio.
I think that's the most frustrating thing for a lot of creators who are in the same situation as all of us. It's that when you're doing commercial work, you're so busy doing all these jobs for everyone else that in a tiny little way, it's almost soul crushing, because you can be creating fantastic artwork and fantastic animations for other people, but you really want to be making your own thing, and you just often you can't because you're snowed under with other people's projects. I mean, me and Anthony are currently in that very situation where we are snowed under making projects for lots and lots of other people, where we've got like a mountain of our own projects that we want to be working on. But fortunately for you, you've started it. You're setting up your own animation right now on Kickstarter, Mushroom Park. So tell us more about that then. How did it come about?
So Mushroom Park.
Ideas and all that? Yep.
Yeah. So I think I had a similar journey to what you described, just within working on StoryCorps. So StoryCorps started out as something where it was a radio series, and I was a fan of it, and my brother was going to start an internship there. And we had always wanted to do documentary animation, because when we were kids, that was actually probably the thing that turned us on the most in terms of like, wow, I want to make something like that, was Peter Lord, his film 1989, Going Equipped, where it's a ex-con, a guy who'd been in and out of prison his entire life, talking about those experiences. And it just struck me as so amazing to use animation to explore the lives of real human people. And so when we got, the idea, when Mike really got the idea, like, hey, we've always wanted to do documentary animation, let's work with StoryCorps. That to me really was, independent personal work. And then, for the first 3 years, we were just doing them. We were just taking the audio and, with the StoryCorps' permission, making these shorts. But there was no funding. So we had to wait several years to prove, basically by the time we made our second film, it really proved the idea. And then the money opened up, and it became a TV show. So I kind of feel like I'm taking that approach again with Mushroom Park, in that I think it's a kind of a crazy idea out of left field. And I'm hopeful that people will respond to it and like it, and see value in it. Certainly I do. I've been plowing 4 years of my life into it at this point. And that's just kind of how I approach my work. I've kind of put my career on the back burner a little bit for the last several years. I haven't really aggressively pursued other things, and I've just really wanted to make this film for its own purposes. And then also, to be honest, a little bit of, one of the reasons that we quit doing Rauch Brothers animation was we were getting approached for the same kind of thing again and again, which was to do documentary animation, or to just do sort of capable executions of somebody else's concept. So, a Wile E. Coyote short for Mad or something. And neither of those things was really a reason for me to stick around as an animator for the rest of my career. I really wanted to treat it as a art form of personal expression. And that's what I'm doing with Mushroom Park. It's a film about, again, human relationships. It's about the way that we've got this constant balance any relationship with another person. You guys as brothers probably have a little bit of this. Certainly Mike and I did, where you love and you hate each other. There's times where, things are great, and you're really able to focus on what you like about the relationship and about the other person. And then inevitably there's things that they do and there's things that you do that cause tension and difficulty in the relationship. that's Mushroom Park is in a fun, entertaining way. Two kids kind of going through that experience, kind of full speed. So
Well, that's good. I mean, that's something that people can relate to, isn't it? So
I think so. I mean, I feel it in a lot of relationships in my life. Even the best, most well functioning relationships. At the end of the day, sooner or later, you kind of there's a need for forgiveness, right? There's a need for saying I'm sorry and I screwed up, and you've got to be able to give that to other people, and you've got to take it from other people as well. So that's what Mushroom Park is about.
And is Mushroom Park, are you envisioning this as like a short film, or is it a pitch for a series or a feature-length film? What's the ultimate goal that you are trying to do here?
I'm trying to make just this film. It's going to be about just under 15 minutes. And I really like to focus on the project at hand and not think, oh, let me treat this as a springboard to something else. I mean, I suppose that's a perfectly acceptable way to do things, but for me, I can't really get invested in something unless I feel like this is the thing. I'm making the thing right now. I'm not preparing. I'm not waiting for somebody else's approval. And so that's what it is. And, I love the characters. I'm having a lot of fun drawing them. And I would certainly be open to working with them more. But for now, I'm making this short. I'm trying to make it something really special, and we'll, see when it's over where I want to go next.
Is your brother involved in this project at all? Is this something that you're doing entirely on your own?
I'm mostly doing it on my own. Mike is very helpful in a lot of ways. There's a lot of gaps in my in the way my brain works, and Mike is very helpful at filling in those gaps. So he's given me feedback on running the campaign, and when we were trying to wrangle the voice talent and all that stuff, and he's been helpful. But part of it too is that I'm trying to stand on my own now. I'm trying to learn how to do some of the things he used to do for us together. So he's anything that I come across that feels like something he used to really handle. I'm learning what I can from him, and I'm trying to embrace it and take it and move on and learn my lessons. And so he's not directing or anything, but he's my main cheerleader. Let's put it that way. After my wife. My wife's probably the real.
It's there to give you a hand when you need it. But how much of this project are you doing on your own, and who else have you got involved in the project working with you?
So I've got Bill Wray as my art director. Bill Wray is really exciting for me. He worked with us on StoryCorps, so I'm used to working with him. But to have him on something small and independent like this is awesome. And Bill is, people would know him as the background supervisor for Ren and Stimpy. John Kay and the whole team deserves a lot of credit for what happened on that show, but I think Bill especially, as somebody who came to the show with exceptional skill as a painter, really kind of made the background art of Ren and Stimpy what we know and love, this rich, colorful, vibrant, textural, beautiful thing. And I like to say, I really think it's true. I've heard it said by other people, so I've got backup on this, which is, I think Bill kind of really set the agenda for what TV cartoon background design was like for about 20 years there, until I'd say probably 7 or 8 years ago, things started to be a little different, and people started to bring other things to the table. I mean, I think they always have, but sort of to me, Bill's
I know what you mean.
Was, you look at SpongeBob SpongeBob or a Samurai Jack, and Samurai Jack is even more literally because his protege is Scott Wills. He trained him on Ren and Stimpy, and then Scott, as Bill says, Scott learned all my tricks and does them better. So hats off to Scott Wills, who is Gendy Tartakovsky's main background guy for Samurai Jack and everything since. And so it's exceptionally exciting. Bill is really the best, and he's really a creative thinker and an excellent painter in the way he uses color. And of course, I'm used to working with him, so it's been great. Bill is our background guy. I've got this artist, Brandon Denmark, is assisting me on some of the animation. He's also assisted me in the past, and he's working at Titmouse on shows like Nico and the Sword of Light and everything else they have over there. So he's really great. That's kind of it for the art team, to be honest. Currently, I'd love to pick up some ink and painters as I go, or something like that, or some help on the animation. That's kind of it right now. And then our voice acting is Betsy Sodaro, who is a big comedy rising star. Well, both of them kind of are, but Betsy especially. She's on a Netflix show called Disjointed, and you hear her on a lot of comedy podcasts. And then Shondalia White, who's a great stand-up and voice performer here in LA. So yeah, so those are our voices, and that's. Oh, and then music. Music is really exciting too. We've got Chad Cannon, who's not necessarily a name anybody knows just yet, but he has worked primarily as an orchestrator, so assisting another composer on films like Guardians of the Galaxy and The Hobbit. And he's actually collaborated a lot with Joe Hisaishi a lot as well, who people know from everything he's done with Studio Ghibli over the years. I think he performs and helps orchestrate for Joe as well when he does these big orchestral live performances and takes the things that he's written for the movies and needs to turn them into something that an entire orchestra can play. I think Chad's been helping out that way. So Chad has been hungry to have a chance to compose films of his own, and you know, he's done it before, and he's doing it with us as well, and he's really fantastic.
I mean, obviously, everyone saw the trailer at the start of this when Anthony ran it. And you've gone for a great traditional-looking 2D form of animation, which you don't really see a lot of things nowadays in 2D. Seems to be, you know, like that kind of Flash route. I mean, and I'm not knocking it because that's the way that we work. Like, I use Flash all the time, or animators it's called now. But it's great to see a more traditional form of 2D where, you know, you can just tell that it's done like frame by frame. You can see the way that the virtual camera, so to say, you know, goes around the characters. You just got that free flowing motion to the characters that you just really can't get with that kind of symbol based form of animation. Is that the way that you always work? Or is that a conscious decision for this particular project? You really wanted to create something artistical?
I mean, I guess in a way both, but it's my default setting. It's how I work. There's a blessing and a curse in that. I think one of our biggest struggles as a studio was I'm always very elaborate with my animation, and I don't think that's a particularly practical way to work for normal TV budgets. It's just, you know, like the moving camera stuff is kind of the way my mind works. Kind of a problem for me when I have directed or storyboarded on other people's shows, because you can't do that for Clarence. You know, working on Clarence, you can't have the camera flying everywhere. They're never going to be able to handle that. No. But it's just the way my mind works, and you know, I'm trying to let Mushroom Park be as pure, just like what I want to make. You know, any scene, if I feel like something's called for, I'm gonna approach it a certain way. I'm not gonna hold back and say, gee, that's a little too complex. Let me do something else. I'm trying to really put everything into it, because, like I said, for me, this is a form of personal expression. This is, you know, I'm the weirdo alone in a room painting the walls, and hopefully it comes out good and people enjoy it.
That's most animators, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
Once you've got the funding through Kickstarter that you're looking for, how long do you think it's going to take you to get this project completed?
Well, my math had been that I would finish currently next summer. That's the goal. I think it's accomplishable. You guys were witness to the fact that I have a 5-month-old child now. And that's been a bit of a monkey wrench. So, you know, basically, so I've got to balance taking care of him and working on this film. So I think I'm I'm still really hopeful for next summer, but certainly exactly how much care my child needs over the next several months will be an issue. Any money that I am able to take from the Kickstarter, well, I mean, we're going to do this anyway, but I've got to put him in daycare and stuff while Daddy does animation. But yeah, that's the goal. Next summer, I think it's accomplishable.
And just for people that are watching that want to get involved with the Kickstarter, and we've put a link below so everyone can find it. Obviously, one of the main things that Kickstarter does is they offer lots of pitches so that people, not pitches, what's the word? Awards, you know, when people contribute to the campaign. So what are the perks that you're offering people?
So hopefully great stuff people want. So we've got the normal stuff at the beginning. There's a downloadable movie poster and a thank you, a mini print. And then as you go a little higher, there's a digital download of the film at $20. There's my tips and tricks that I'll be putting together using scenes from the film and kind of showing my process behind some of the more complex things that I do in terms of the big tricky things like special effects and camera movements, but also dialogue and acting and things like that. So that's the $35. $50 is a tote bag if you're a tote bag person. And then there's the art book, and a little flip book. Those are, $65 is where you start with the art book, and then you can get it signed with some original drawings at $100. And then way up top, there's you can get a limited edition print and things like that, or a big oil painting if anyone's got a spare $4,500 for a great oil painting by Bill Wray. We sold some smaller, cheaper ones. I'm hopeful we'll sell the big one too, but I know that's a lot of cash bucks. So.
And how are you finding the whole Kickstarter experience? Is it going the way you planned, or is it a bit like Luke Skywalker in the latest Star Wars trailer, where you're kind of going, this ain't going to go the way you think it's going to go?
Yeah, definitely that. It is terrifying. I had no idea it was going to be so hard. I think it's sort of changing over time what Kickstarter is to people and how people interact with it and think about it. Doing my research, I was just looking at old animation Kickstarters, and there's kind of, in terms of ones where there's really somebody who really kind of has it together and has a real plan and to execute on. There's only a couple a year. There's not that many to look at, and so looking at that and trying to gather data about how much to ask for or how to approach it was really difficult, because you just don't have that much data to go on, and it's changing. Yeah. So for instance, I thought, it'd be great, to get this on Cartoon Brew, but they don't advertise these anymore. They did several years ago, and so I don't know. You've really got to get out there, and you've got to find media outlets like yourself to help get out the message. That's really key, and then rely on your social media networks, which hopefully you've been tending and grooming and growing over time, because you can't just pour instant grow on them the day you start your Kickstarter. So my advice to anybody who wants to run a Kickstarter is, spend as much time as you can ahead of that, accruing fans on a Facebook or an Instagram or wherever it is that people are now on the internet. But it's been very difficult. It's been a little harder and a little more stressful than I thought it might be. But it's working out. So I'm very grateful to everybody who's contributed. We're doing great.
Yeah, it looks like you're doing great. It looks like you've almost finished getting over the line in terms of getting the money that you asked for. How long have you got left of the Kickstarter? How many days?
It's about 6 days now. It'll end next Tuesday at midnight here in California. So that's kind of like Wednesday morning for you guys in the UK. And yeah, we're knocking on the door of 80% right now, and got to make it the rest of the way, hopefully.
And have you got many things like, are you doing much in the way of, other interviews and, just how are you contacting, because obviously if you've attracted that amount of funding, you're obviously doing a really good job at contacting people. Is it generally just,
Ah.
like doing things like this, or did you already have a big following?
I mean, we had a little bit of a following. Unfortunately, StoryCorps, they probably got 100,000 YouTube followers from the work that we did for them, but we don't own those YouTube followers. And then we have a little over 2,000 people on our Facebook group, and I have about 1,000 people on my Instagram. So honestly, just like in my mind, just kind of the baseline of what you might need to get something like this going. We've been really fortunate. We actually, I'll be honest, I think we've had a pretty low number of backers so far. I think we're at about 150 now, which most successful Kickstarters looking for the amount that we have in mind are minimum 200, 300. So to be honest, I think we need some help getting the word out. Anybody who can share our links, or if anyone else watching this has a platform and they'd like to interview me, I'm happy to talk to anybody. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's hard because you're trying to get people excited about a project that, there's a lot of footage to show right now, and there's some cool stuff, but it's not done yet. So it's just a 15-minute short, so it's kind of a challenge to get people to cover it and talk about it. Until fortunately, when people see what it is, they're really excited, and I've been really gratified that, even though I say in my mind it's not that many backers, the backers we do have are really wonderful. It's a great spread. It's everything from sort of, just normal animation fans, and all the way up to, we've got Phil Rinda, who's currently running a new production unit for Netflix, or C.H. Greenblatt has been a big promoter of our work, or, the guy who created Chowder, and that other excellent show, Nickelodeon, that just killed off for some reason. I don't understand. But yeah, so we've got some really, really great people backing us, and I'm very thrilled. So.
And obviously, you're wearing a lot of hats on this project. You're doing the animating, you're doing the directing, you're managing it, you're promoting it. Are you at heart, is it the animation that you enjoy the most? Or maybe, because you get two types of animators. You get the ones that really just love drawing, getting down and making them images come to life. But then you get the other ones who actually enjoy being storytellers, and they enjoy the story, and the animation is just a form of bringing it to life, and it's the writing side of things that they enjoy the most. So what is your particular thing that, really, what you really look forward to doing?
I think I probably enjoy the animation most. I'm maybe an animator at heart, just the weirdo that wants to be in his room making more and more drawings and seeing things come to life. It's so exciting. But I do enjoy the story as well. I think it's a little harder with the story because you kind of got to sit with it for so long. Like I said, I've been putting this thing together for 4 years, and a lot of the main creative decisions about what the story is, well, they're certainly locked now because I recorded voices in August of 2016. So I only have minimal ability to change the story at this point. So I've got to find my fun in the animation. But I really enjoy the filmmaking side of it and the storytelling side of it. And I would love to over time, develop a process where I can do that as much as I'm doing the animation. It's just currently the animation is a pile of work that I enjoy, but then it keeps me from learning things about being a story person or a filmmaker. I'd love to have more of a balance. So.
And so, what have been the highs and the lows of producing this project?
The highs are, being here talking with you guys, talking with people who enjoy the work, sharing it online, and getting great responses, and watching it with audiences when a project is completed. And then the lows are all the moments of self-doubt in between, where you're going, is anyone going to care? Is this just a dumb thing that I made too elaborate that nobody wants to watch? I don't think that's the case in the end, but you can't help but, you're alone with it for so long. It's hard to keep your chin up. And then, working from home alone, then I worry I bother my wife with it too much and things like that. But I'm feeling the highs right now because people are responding to the campaign. So for now, I'm good.
It does seem to be the process. I mean, we spoke to a few other people who've done Kickstarter campaigns, and it's the same thing. They've said it's a lot of hard work, and like you said, there's a lot of doubt, and yeah, you just got to keep going until you get to the end. And I think obviously you've got a really interesting project, and like you're doing well on the Kickstarter so far, so I think it's going to get there. And like, we'll be really interested to see like watching the final actual animation.
Yeah, I'm excited to get it out there. I think it's going to be something really unique and different and special for people. It's animated. It's really well animated. It's really dramatic animation, and then it's very cartoony too. It's full of smears and doubling up on things. If a character's swinging their arms around or their head around, there might be 3 eyeballs in a shot. But at the same time, the story is this.
It's got that really wonderful look of. Sorry, I'm doing it again, interrupting.
No, go ahead.
You carry on. You carry on. I'm into.
I'll carry on.
Well, okay. So it's got this wild kind of to me sort of Tex Avery or Jim Tyre or John Kay type of approach to the animation, but then the story is like not that different from my StoryCorps stuff, except for it's kind of turned up to 110%, where they're trying to kill each other practically. So, well, literally, they are actually at one point. The emotions come from a real place. The emotions come from just the hurt feelings that you have in interactions with people that you know. So it's this super cartoony style of animation that's applied to what in my mind is a fairly realistic emotional experience. So.
Well, the animation style is the animation style is so eye-catching. I mean, I came across it. I was on one of the Facebook groups, and you see so many videos, and it's just one of them that as soon as I saw it playing, I had to sit and watch it, and it took me back to that old kind of style animation that we used to watch as kids and that we loved. So it
reminds me of like everyone. You know what? Like people knock the 80s because obviously during the 80s you had a lot of low-end TV animations out, but you had a lot of what people forget is you had a lot of really great 2D animations, like all the Don Bluth stuff that came out, like All Dogs Go to Heaven and I forget the name, the one with the mouse when he goes west to America. All those ones it did, and they all had that great fluid. It's that fluid animation which is so beautiful, but you don't see nowadays because everything nowadays is so cost. Everyone's counting the pennies and everything is corporate. And everyone is running to such. Everything costs so much nowadays. It just seems that no one has the time or the inclination to really create something beautiful. Like you say, it's to create an artwork, which is basically what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I get why that happens. I've worked in TV, and it ends up being about the writing, and you've got this big process, and it's being animated by somebody else somewhere else, in another country, on another continent, and so the way that things move, that's probably my big frustration with working in the industry or watching things that are created for TV, especially. The way things move is usually sort of an afterthought. It tends to be about the story, the design, hopefully, and some things like that. But then the sense of movement or doing something really, really exciting with the camera or whatever, that's not as normal. That's often, not something that they can put the money into. And I think it's a shame. It's too bad. It's kind of, it would be something to be great to see more of. So hopefully we can bring it to people.
Well, talking about the animation, going a bit behind the scenes, how do you animate?
Mm-hmm.
What is your process? What software are you working with?
I'll do a little dramatic pivot. You can see I'm currently sharing this room with my son. He's not yet sleeping in here. He will be in a couple months, and I'll be kicked out to the garage. But I've just got a real modest setup there of, regular Cintiq, and then I just work on Toon Boom. which I love that software. I had used Flash for many, many years, and I find the drawing tool in Toon Boom to be superior, something that I respond to certainly better than the Flash one. And its way of interacting with the storyboard software is really awesome. And the color, the ink and paint stuff. I feel like an ad for the company. I mean, but I love it. I love this software. It's really intuitive for me to use it. And
I've got a huge book on my shelf. I've got a big, massive book on my shelf that I got for Christmas last year about how to use Toon Boom. And it's just going back to what we was talking about earlier. It's just because we have no time, let alone to do our own project. But I'd love to learn Toon Boom because it looked like a fantastic software. But because I'm so inundated and I'm literally working until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning most nights, I just don't have the time to sit down and learn it. But it's definitely on the top of my to-do list. Hopefully one day. I did think, are you working purely frame to frame, or is it a mix of frame by frame and symbol work?
There's no symbols. I mean, when I did StoryCorps, occasionally I would like reuse a mouth shape from one frame to another. But for this, I don't tend to be doing that too much or kind of at all. And even though you reuse mouth shape, it would just be from 6 frames prior, not from 6 scenes prior. Yeah, it's all drawn fresh to the scene. Part of the thing that I love to do in animation is take the model sheets, take any kind of notion of consistency in terms of the way you draw a character, and throw it out the window and try to constantly evolve, try to do things different from shot to shot, and do them in a way that makes sense for that shot. One of the simplest things is in sweeter, gentler, calmer scenes where the characters are have their heads on a little screwed on a little tighter. The drawings will be a little bit more. The line will be a little more solid. Things will just kind of be a little more stationary. And then in scenes where they want to tear each other's little faces off, the lines are freaking out all over the place. So I don't know. I like to play with stuff like that, and for me, puppets. I have had jobs where I've animated with puppets, and it's not why I'm in animation. It's not why I really like the act of drawing, and I really like to make it fresh from the scene. And I think there's great ways to use puppets, and I love a lot of things that use them. But for me personally, it's not of interest.
Bloody hell! But you're going like proper old school then. If you're doing, because obviously, you talk about the old, the Disney films and Tex Avery, Chuck Jones, like all them classics. But, everyone says like Chuck Jones and whatnot, but he never did it on his own. He had a whole massive team helping him. And the same for all these films. You had teams and teams of animators and in-betweeners and all of that. But it sounds like it's just you working on this all by yourself. So, how long does it take you to, give us a bit of an insight to what's your process in terms of storyboarding, inking, colouring? How long does it take to get from the pencil that hits the paper or the digital screen to when it's coloured and you've got like a sequence?
Yeah. Well, my writing process was crazy, and that's a whole other thing. I had never really written a film before, so that took me a long time, and I started off with the ambition of it being a feature and stuff like that. So that was a whole process that I was going back and forth between writing as a script and then kind of looser, more free-form drawing where I was, knew kind of a scene that I wanted a situation I wanted the characters in, and I would make drawings around that without really being concerned about framing or the way that shots were progressing. I was just kind of like, this is the scene I want to express, and put some drawings down about it. So, but especially once I had the voices, a little prior to that, I had started to really try to nail down the boards. And I do those in Storyboard Pro. And, but even that, working for myself, I kind of like to take the boards, import them into Toon Boom. I've got the audio, I'm ready to go. And then if I like the board or I like the drawings in the board, I'll use it. But just as often I'll go, I think I could do something else here. Or I think the drawing the angle should be a little weirder or a little more extreme. You know, usually it's about that. It's about pushing it just a little further past where it was already. And so in Toon Boom, then I go in there, I take the scene, I've got the dialogue. More and more, I find that I'm animating several scenes within a single file. So even if the camera's cutting out, for me, for the way my mind works as a filmmaker, it works better if it's all kind of in one file, so I can kind of see how one shot leads into the next one. And again, because movement, you know, camera movement, you guys talk about the way I move the camera, things like that are a lot easier for me to keep track of if everything's in one file for, you know, say a 1 minute scene or something. Of course, it leads to these unwieldy things, so I don't know. Sometimes that's a mistake. But then the animation process, I try to do real rough layout pass. You know, real loose, what most people would think of as a rough drawing. And, you know, maybe there's a drawing every 1 to 2 seconds, breaking down some piece of dialogue or whatever. And then I kind of just use those drawings as the goalposts. And I say, you know, I've got this one here at frame 0, and I've got this one here at frame 40, and I got to get from here to there. And I'll just figure out, you know, is there a break? Is there things I got to do in the middle? Is this character going to shift in the middle? Is there going to be some change? I feel like I'm getting into whatever. But yeah, and then I just try to, you know, work back and forth until I'm all done. I wish it had more of a method to it, but that's what works for me. And then the amount of work I get done. I mean, when I was fully supported and just only responsible for animation, and my brother was handling everything else, I probably got between 20 and 40 seconds on a week, depending on how complicated things were. This film, and then now having a child, I have weeks where I'm lucky to get 5 seconds because I've got these really crazy shots. Like, you know, one of the ones I use for a lot of the promotional material on Mushroom Park is this scene where they're on a boat in the middle of a storm, and the one guy's got a shovel and he's trying to whack the other guy in the head with it, and the camera is spinning around them, and rain is pounding down, and the water is splashing up like crazy around them. And a shot like that, that'll be 5 seconds in a week, is like a real, let's get there, let's crank this out. So I'm hopeful I've knocked down a lot of those. I try to pick off a lot of them for the trailers and things like that, because I thought they'd be exciting. But yeah, it's a pretty laborious process. We all know that.
And is this the only project? Oh, hang on. What's going wrong there, Ant?
I don't know.
I can hear myself. Oh.
You can't hear yourself?
No, I can. I could hear myself. There was like a big echo. Don't worry about it. Something goes wrong every week. This has been a relatively straightforward episode. I'm quite happy at the moment. There you go. I've jinxed it now. What I was going to say is this your sole project that you're working on at the moment, or are you still working on your normal commercial work?
No, no, I am not. I'm just doing this. You know, if somebody comes to me with really great freelance opportunity, I take it. But there's, if you're not out there looking for it, there's not a lot necessarily coming, which is good. I'm trying to focus on this. I'm trying to get this done. It's been around for a long time, and I really means a lot to me to get it done. So yeah, I'm trying to avoid work. I am married. I do have a child, so it's a little hard to turn down an email that says, "We have work for you." I can't really go to my wife and be like, "Yeah, there was somebody that wanted to hire me today," and I just said no. So I'm open for, you know, short-term stuff, but you know, in terms of directing on a series or working on a series right now, I'm off of that, or anything that would take me more than a couple of weeks to do. I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah,
the plague. Keep it away.
Yeah, I suppose you wouldn't want the distraction. Like, I can imagine with this process, once you get going, you want to keep going with it.
Yeah, you don't want to lose momentum. Yeah, I find. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great point. I find when I step away for too long, I forget how to draw weird, the right way, or the right kind of weird, or you know, some of the more extreme things I do with the animation, I find myself, you know, less comfortable doing them. So yeah, definitely momentum is really key.
Do you ever suffer with because what I find talking with a lot of fellow animators, and well, not just animators, creative. It seems that a lot of creative people seem to suffer with we call it shiny shiny syndrome, where you're working on something and it has all your passion and interest, and then all of a sudden something new and shiny appears in the distance, you know, a new idea, and then it kind of just, you know, just take the amount of projects I've started and I've been super enthusiastic about, and then all of a sudden I get a new idea and it just pulls me away from it. Do you ever suffer with that, or are you very much focused, you know, like solely on this and this only?
I am pretty good at staying focused over the long term. The shiny object thing sure happens in little ways here and there, but for the long term, like, yeah, I think that's one of my main gifts as an animator is like, I'm a little sick in the head to stay focused on this for this long. But I think that's for me, that's kind of key. I've had trouble before, you know. I think for me, just in life in general, I love to get things 90% complete. 90% feels great, you know. It's that last 10% where you're tightening the screws that can be a struggle. Yeah. And for anything like this, where it's a solo project that you're just doing for years, you got to stick with it. And but I think that's one of the things I've told myself is like, I'm a pretty good animator, I'm a pretty good director, I'm pretty good at various things in animation. But the one gift I feel like I've proven I have had over time is in an ability to ignore the wiser choice of making money or flipping things around faster, and just staying dedicated and focused to a single goal. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Well, one of the main things that we do with this show that we like to think is that because I never went to university or college due to lots of different reasons, and so I found myself in a situation where I wanted to get into animation, but going to university and college just was not an opportunity for me. But fortunately for myself at that time, and definitely for people nowadays, is that there are other avenues where you can learn online and through books. You know, I started off by buying the Richard Williams book and looking at that, and then going through the internet. And there's probably a lot more things online now, but there still isn't that much online. So we like to think that, you know, when we talk to animators, we get advice from them. So if there's any kids out there that, you know, want to grow up and they want to get into animation, what advice would you offer them today if they want to make a career out of doing this and they're just about to leave school? What would you say to them that they should concentrate on, or what path should they go down to make it a reality?
You got to make stuff. You got to make a lot of stuff. There's a lot of different reasons for that. It's like, one, you only get better at things by doing them. And two, people don't want to do something that they don't already know you can do. Sometimes that's a frustration as an artist, as an animator. I know I feel it. I know other people feel it, where you go, why don't they consider me for X, Y, and Z? Don't they know I can do? Don't they know I can do it? Don't they know I'd be amazing at it? Well, no, people don't. People don't know what you can do until you show them. That's so, you know, you want to stay busy, stay doing your stuff. You know, it can be hard. You know, people are fans of animation and animators, or they also want to play video games. So you want to, or you want to have a social life, or you want to have a wife and child. So there's other things in life, and you just have to figure out, you know, what's the balance of stuff that I need in my life to keep my mental health right, and to enjoy myself, and to be a happy person in general, and not just like a crazy animator alone in a room who's sort of angry at the world or depressed. You know, you gotta stay balanced a little bit. But at the end of the day, you gotta put in the work, and that can take on different forms. You know, animation at this point, it's drawing like I do. So if you're really into drawing animation, you should draw like crazy. You should be, you know, if you're a student or really anybody, you know, filling a sketchbook like constantly is a great move. Drawing from life, all that stuff, and that, you know, that's really the way to learn. For me, animation was just, you know, do a lot of it, do a lot of drawing, But then there's other things. Obviously, you know, now people use computers to do really cool stuff. I think of this animator, John Braxton, that I really love. He's kind of like a David O'Reilly, or you could just say David O'Reilly. You know, these are not people that drawing is not necessarily a hugely important part of their process, but playing with computers is. And I'm sure those guys are up at 3 a.m. playing with computers. And, you know, it's a lot of work. And we're all kind of in this because we love it, usually, hopefully. Hopefully we maintain that. But that's part of the challenge, because everybody else around you that's competing for the same jobs also loves what they're doing, and there's a lot of talent, and it's hard to differentiate yourself. But if you're somebody that works really hard, that's one of the main things, man, because the world is full of talented people who don't complete things, or talented people who never, you know, step away from the TV. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Portfolio is king, because, you know, that's what you get judged by the end of the day. But I do have, because I didn't go to university and whatnot, I do get people say to me, "Oh, do you think that's a better way?" And I say the only reason I didn't go was just because of circumstances I had. But if I was to have my, you know, like, well, I wouldn't personally challenge my own experience, but I probably would recommend to people that to go to, because the great thing I think about going to university is you just got that time. You just got that time to work on your portfolio, to create content, also to find other like-minded people to work with, and also you're in a place where you're a beacon. People come to those facilities to look for interns and graduates and all things like that. So you got a good little launching spot, where me and Anthony had to go the long way around doing things because we had to do it for ourselves, and we knew nothing. We had to really learn everything ourselves. And whereas when you go to these schools, you've got people that are going to give you advice and going to point you in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything you said is spot on. I think I think I sort of represent a halfway point between, you know, people who study this in school, animation specifically, and you guys, and because I studied fine art. I studied drawing and painting in school, which, you know, not to take anything away from that, because that was huge to have access to professors to give me feedback on how to think about drawing and design and things like that. That was huge. And the other part of it was where I went to school, which is in New York City. And you have access to the galleries and the museums and the theaters and all this world-class stuff to see the best stuff that there is. I had a professor who would refer to it as the Super Bowl of art is happening every weekend. You should be out there engaging with it, which I think is true in a city like New York. But, you know, again, with the internet now, it's like the Super Bowl of art is happening all the time on your phone. So maybe that's distracting, but it's there. You know, you can see stuff. And I guess I think about, you know, like situations like you guys are saying you didn't go to school, or myself. I've very rarely worked in the system. Most of my way of approaching things has been stuff that I just kind of came up with over the years of just doing my own films, because that's 95% of what I've done is on my own. And I think you're right. There is value in that, because you end up with very specific, personal, interesting ways of doing things. But then the trap is then it's harder to work for other people, because maybe you don't know the normal way to do things, or you develop bad habits that you need to unlearn, or something like that. But I think there's value in both. And I think at the end of the day, as long as you apply yourself, you know, fortunately, it's not a field where anyone ever cares where you went to school. You're right. You do manage to get connections and things like that. If you go to like CalArt, for instance, everybody that you go to school with is going to end up working in the industry in some way. Versus if you go to school in the middle of Pennsylvania and you study animation, you know, you might be lucky if 2 or 3 of your the other students end up in the field. So, you know, it's a different challenge, but everybody at the end of the day, you know, a couple years out of school, everybody's competing the same way. Everybody's got just the need to have a good portfolio and a good demo reel, or good films, or whatever it is that you are trying to bring to the table. You're going to be accountable for it yourself at some point, you know. So those are the grindstone, I guess.
Well, once you finish Mushroom Park. Do you have any projects lined up for the future, or what are your plans? Are you going to carry on doing your own stuff, or will you take a break from working on things yourself and go back to the commercial or studio work?
Well, I've got to figure out a way to make some money. First of all, I've kind of worked, like, let's say 3 to 6 months out of the year for the last couple of years, and my wife's been very good and understanding about that, and we're treating it as if I'm in grad school right now. But I'm gonna need to go and earn some money. But what I want to do is I want to be a creator, and I think one of the mistakes we made when we did StoryCorps was we had all this attention and people wanted to talk to us and people wanted to know what ideas we had, but we were working so hard on StoryCorps and that we didn't have new ideas about what else we wanted to do or what we wanted to pitch. So this time around, I'm promising myself that I'm going to have a few pitches ready to go when this thing is out there and people want to talk to me. So I'm certainly going to pitch some ideas, but the struggle there is my ideas continue to be things that on first sight people don't always think are good ideas. Again, going back to the StoryCorps 9/11, the 9/11 museum said, "Don't do this. This is bad. You can't." They already had a partnership with StoryCorps, and they said, "You can't make animated cartoons out of, a terrorist attack," which seems perhaps a reasonable position to take, but I think they were wrong, and I think they were proven wrong.
Yeah, they're probably thinking it was.
And I think, yeah.
I think some people, when they think of animation, they just think of being wacky cartoons. But as you showed yourself, and as many people have shown, cartoons can be really poignant, and you can actually, through the use of colour and the artwork and the mood, you can actually get across emotion a lot more than you could do with an actual live action film, as you proved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it may have certain kinds of advantages over live action. It probably has certain kinds of weaknesses in comparison. For me, it's my own, method of, and you guys as well, and all the animators watching, it's our method of communication. It's, if we were actors, we would act. If we were dancers, we would dance. We like to draw, we like to make things move, so we're animated. And the ideas that I have right now are things that I think will similarly be very tough to swallow for any funder. So, like, I'm very interested in making a film about a female homicide detective, or I got a film that I want to make, which the female homicide detective film is a little bit about race relations in America. It's a little bit about women in the workplace. It's some different things like that are kind of a lens through looking at my wife's experiences and just wanting to do. I just think noirs or things like that are fun, and I'd love to do one with a strong female character in the middle. And then I've got other ideas, like a big film I want to make about religion. It's kind of like American Pop by Ralph Bakshi. He takes American popular music and watches it through the lens of this family from vaudeville days to Bob Seger-ish type 1980s rock, which was the thing at the time, and just all these different generations of their way of interacting with the music of the day and being a part of it. And religion is a big thing in my family. I'm not religious myself, but my father sure was, and his father before him. So I'm interested in doing a film that kind of looks at the why people, what is religion? What is it attempting to answer? What are people thinking about when they engage with a religion? But I don't think Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon are going to want to fund that. So I don't know. I'm trying to also have some ideas. The slice of filmmaking that I would like to see exist in animation is what I think of as young adult. It currently exists in fiction. We refer to it's called young adult, at least in this country. Like Night by Elie Wiesel or something like that. Something where you're taking real human drama, which is what I'm interested in, and real stakes. Like, people could die, people could be killed, people could hate each other or love each other, and not just silly jokes, which are great. I love silly jokes. I'm just not a silly joke guy naturally myself. Those are the things I want to explore, and I think that this kind of young adult market is the current existing potential between where we're used to animation being for children broadly, and especially in terms of anybody who wants to give money for animation to be created, for children, okay, but then also, hey, let's tell some serious stories. I'm hoping I can approach that middle point where we're able to tell stories to 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, where there's some real weight to it and some real teeth to it, but it would still be hopefully something of interest to adults.
I think there's a big market for it. I mean, if you look at you look at manga. I mean, a lot of that is very adult.
Yeah.
And the market for that, like the viewers for that, is massive. And I think it's kind of like America and the UK. Yeah, people think cartoons, and they do kind of think, oh, you know, kids. And they all automatically think young kids as well. But I think as well now with Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that,
there's some great adult shows, and that's the problem. What's the right word? Because when you say adult cartoon, it just conjures up, you know, what
25-year-old boy cartoon really is what it means.
Yeah.
Usually.
So what would be the right type? You know, like F is for Family, BoJack Horseman. There's a lot of that kind of animation for adults on Netflix at the moment, and they're great. You know, they're definitely not for kids, and especially with F is for Family and BoJack, a lot of them are very weighty in you know, emotion and troubles and the psyche, and you know, they're not normal Tom and Jerry type cartoons at all. So there's definitely a market. There's a a growing market for it, and perhaps that's.
I want to do that. I actually just directed the season finale of BoJack. By the way, I don't know people are fans of that. I think, but I certainly was. It was a big honor to be a part of that. And no, you're right. It's existing more and more. And Netflix actually that's the one I want to go to, man. When I'm ready with my pitches, I feel like they're going to be the most ready audience for them. I think it's more like you said, the UK and US. I can't speak for the UK. I can certainly speak for the US. We're really stuck here in the mindset that animation is for either children or 25-year-old males. And there's shows like BoJack now, and they're starting to edge us away, right? So BoJack is a big existential, dramatic story, but still with heavy doses of sort of, the humor that we've gotten used to from a Simpsons or a Family Guy, although a good version of it, not the crappy. I don't know. I'm not a Family Guy fan. Sorry, but I love BoJack, and I think I look to Europe and I look to the Red Turtle or this most of the stuff that Tom Kenny that they're doing at not Tom Kenny Tom Moore that they're doing at the Irish studio. They seem to, with the Breadwinner, they're moving. Yeah, Cartoon Saloon, right? And films like The Breadwinner. That's what I'm talking about. I want to make The Breadwinner, guys. Can we go back and make it again with me as the director? It's really inspiring to see what's going on around the world, because I think people are really moving the art form forward. I just think we're a little behind here in the U.S. Primarily because we're currently the industry, especially in terms of movies, they're always making big budget movies, and so they've got to have a way to know they're going to get their money back. And if you make big broad family entertainment, you're going to get your money back. And something a little weirder and a little more niche. And that's their business.
You notice a lot with Hollywood at the moment. They seem to, because there's such a big audience in China, they've started tailoring a lot of their films to like the Chinese audience, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can see, like, because of the they're looking at the return, and because a lot of people in the US and in the UK and Europe, the problem is that the internet people stream things online, so you spend a big massive fortune for these movies, and only a fraction of the people are going to the cinema because they can download it for nothing. But for whatever reason, when these films are released in Asia, they've still got loads of people flocking to the theatres to buy the ticket and watch the film. So a lot of these, like I think Batman versus Superman and stuff like that, I don't know if they did that well at home. They did all right, but it wasn't Batman versus Superman. It was that was it. No, I'm thinking Warcraft. Warcraft is the one I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah,
Warcraft did pants at home. Yeah, but it did really, really well in China. So
in Russia, I think, as well, if I remember correctly.
What, in Russia?
And I think Russia or something. But you're right. It did very well internationally.
Yeah, mind you, to be fair, it wasn't that great of a film. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Probably not.
Duncan Jones, who made the film, is a great, like Moon and was it Passenger? He makes great films, but Warcraft wasn't one of, you know. But to be fair to him again, he did suffer a lot with studio, you know, like interruption and, you know, the whole dreaded notes and, you know, everyone chipping in and, you know, they've ruined it for him from what I can gather. So yeah, like I say, it's that's a problem when you try and work for the big studios. But it does look like Netflix does, you know, they're investing in more indie projects, and you see a lot of people on Kickstarter that do successful, especially the documentary ones. You know, there are a lot of them do end up on Netflix. Would you ever consider in the future having a kind of, I don't know, like a mixed media documentary where you might tackle something like religion and you can be told through both animation and, you know, like, would you consider doing something like that?
I maybe. I'm excited to see where my career goes over time. I'm you know, the more that I play around with the filmmaking side of filmmaking, not just the drawing side of filmmaking, the more I would like to use methods where I can get things faster than 5 seconds a week. But yeah, I mean, you know, I think I'm having a reaction to you bringing up documentary, which is not personal. I'm always like, no, I don't want to do anymore. Don't make me do it. But
well, I think,
Netflix is really exciting to me. Well, and a documentary would be great. I mean, I'm sure I'll want to do documentary. It's one of my favorite things to watch. So, but I am very excited by Netflix, because I think one of my big concerns with like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and Disney TV and all that stuff is they have like a very defined audience and a very defined idea of what they're trying to do for that audience usually, or some of them, like especially, you know, I remember Cartoon Network doing a pitch there actually of Mushroom Park, of an earlier version of this, and they were like, oh, you can't, in that version of the film, the frog was dead at the beginning and they bury the frog, just like in this one. And they said, well, you can't have death. We can't have just a thing just dies and it stays dead. We can't do that on our network. And I was like, okay. So probably not going to work out for me there. Plus, like they're always, you know, everything should be, humor is front and center there. It's for me, it feels a little bit as if, you know, let's say you were a live action filmmaker and you were always had to make films either for children or comedies. And those were your two things. You could either make a comedy or you can make a children's film. And if you want to do anything else, go fuck yourself. And I want to expand what animation can do, although I'm realizing like you've got to kind of meet people where they're at too. So,
well, talking about Cartoon Saloon, I listened to an interview not too long ago with what's the name of the is it Tom Moore? I think the person that runs
he's
Cartoon
the guy.
Saloon. Yeah. And it's done a load of interviews all over the place. And where did I listen to it? I can't for the life of me remember. Look up Tom Moore interview. I don't think he's done that many anyway. There's only about 3 or so on Google. But anyway, he was saying that when he got started out, I think he started off working for Don Bluth when he had a studio based in Ireland. You know, like that's where they was getting there. I know, like in the US, they used like South Korea and places like that to do all like the inking work. And at one point in the past, well, even now presently, I know a lot of TV series are produced in Canada, and even now they're still produced in Ireland. But anyway, Tom Moore and his partner, whoever they were working for Tom Bluth, I think, originally. I might be wrong, Don Bluth. But anyway, when all that folded, they started working on their own stuff. And like you said, the problem is that it's the same in the UK as it sounds like it is in America, where a lot of people consider cartoons for kids. And, you know, it's not treated as an adult. Certainly back in the 90s and the 80s and the early noughties, it wasn't treated as a serious art form. However, if you go to France and Germany, animation over there is massive. And it's, you know, it's approached in a different is thought of in a different manner. And that's where they went to get their investment. They went to companies in France and Germany to look for investors. So I don't know if that's something that might be, worth looking into in the future.
Yeah.
Because like you say, and then, it's just, it's difficult, but as Cartoon Saloon has showed, it's definitely doable if you just...
Absolutely.
And also, and a lot of people, this is why people are using Kickstarter now, so that they can bypass the studios and go directly to the people and say, if you like this, we can make it for you and you can get involved.
Yeah. Kickstarter is a great way to get things started. Inevitably, at the end of the day, the bigger money that you need to really do things is kind of hard to get there, unless you're a known quantity or you have something that's really easy to sell or easier to sell people than I feel like mine might be. So, like for instance, one of the things that seems to do really well on Kickstarter is anything anime. So, as long as it looks like anime, it seems like you've got a better shot at getting some money.
I'm in the minority when it comes to anime. I know Anthony loves it, but I've two films of anime that I've liked, and that was back in the 80s. It was Akira, even though I didn't understand what the bloody hell was going on. I just liked the way it looked. And Fist of the North Star. And again, I didn't understand what was going on, but at the time it was super violent. I was a little kid in the 80s, and it was super cool. But other than that, I've never been into anime. You know what I don't like about anime? Is that it all looks the bloody same. It just takes away the whole great thing of animation. Is that you can do anything you want. So why the hell do you make every single cartoon look like they're made by the same person? The great thing is everything should have its own individual stamp. So I'm not a big, massive fan of anime, and I don't understand the huge love for it. I would much rather see things like what you're working on, which, it's like an artist. It's like going to a gallery and looking at a painting and thinking, right, that was done by Van Gogh, or that was done by Leonardo, that was done by Michelangelo. I'll make it sound like I know who I'm talking about, but I'm just going through the Ninja Turtles here. Raphael, Donatello, they're all artists. The point is that, I think an animation should be an extension of the hand that creates it. It should have its own unique stamp, its own unique message, and anime is all the same, I know a lot of people will disagree with me there, but I like to see the artistical stamp of a project, and that's what's great about what you're working on, and it'd be wonderful to see a lot more things like that. So people should get behind and support it.
Well, hopefully they will. I'm really appreciate you guys talking to me today, and I really hope people take interest in it. I think it is something different. I think it is something unique. I think it's something people are going to love. Hopefully, you take a look at picking up a copy of that art book. That's a donation level that really helps me out, and I think it's going to be a special item with some really beautiful stuff in it. Because again, we've got Bill Wray here, and he's so amazing, and I'm trying to put everything I can into it, and hopefully bring you guys something really new and special and unique. And if you back me now, hopefully I'll make many more things, and you can say I was there when he needed people the most at the beginning. So I'm really hoping people will take a look at it on Kickstarter. That's Mushroom Park, and if you just go there and search it, you should be able to find it. Or you can find me on Instagram at Tim_Rauch. I try to post as much behind the scenes stuff as I can. And on Facebook as well. We've got the Rauch Brothers animation page on Facebook. And if you're an animation fan, you're welcome to friend me as well. I'm down with that. I use it professionally, so I don't mind people that I don't know adding me. It's totally fine.
Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight and talk. It was great to talk to you about everything, how you come up with it, the behind the scenes. It's wonderful to hear, and we wish you.
Thank you.
All the best with your project, and hopefully maybe we'll talk to you. You can talk to us again 6 months down the line when the project is finished, and you can talk. We can discuss more. How it was and how you found the whole project. So we'll look forward to.
I can't wait to be back with the finished film, guys.
Yeah, that we very much look forward. So have a great Christmas and have a great New Year's. Thank you very much for joining us.
Merry Christmas to you guys, and thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks for any support you can give us. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
You don't know them.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. I really need to create a hand so that we can actually wave to people. Maybe some like droppy down hands that wave, or I don't know. It'll just seem weird if hands come out of our heads, but we need some way of saying goodbye to people.
Yeah, we'll figure it
You know,
out.
like shaking head just don't quick. Right. Okay.
Bodies.
Yeah, but this is our logo. This is our thing. I think it'd be weird if we had bodies. It wouldn't be the same. I like having a floaty head thing. Well, anyway, so while that interview was going on, I was keeping an eye on the conversation. Now, I'm using the iPad here, and I've been told by, let's see if I can pronounce this name correctly. Let me just look on the iPad here.
I don't know. You can never pronounce any name properly.
Narayant. I'm just going to say Narayant. You'll have to say if I'm saying it wrong. I think he's still watching. Anyway, Narayant was very kindly keeping me updated, and he let me know that we are live on Twitch, and it is working apparently. So that's a bonus.
I'm watching the live Twitch feed at the moment.
Well, Narayant said there's a few messages from
got a couple
Mr.
of
Kessler, I
comments
do believe.
from Kessler, yeah. He's
And
just
what
said,
were those?
yeah, when we was talking about having a bit of self doubt when working on a project like this, he says that he gets the same feeling all the time. Good to hear that someone else has the same problem. I mean, I know we do. When we're doing a show.
I don't.
Hey, well, not even when we're doing a
do.
show and there's nobody.
You got plenty of reason to.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just seeing how long you'll stay quiet for, if you actually say something to fill the void.
Because I thought you was going to say something. Anyway.
Anyway, right, so as we said earlier on, we are live on Twitch for the very first time. I know that we have got other videos that we uploaded to Twitch, but really it was a bit of a cheat because it was just previous shows that we had on YouTube that I re-uploaded to Twitch in real time. Though I was watching, and if anyone posted any comments during the show, I was there to answer those. Just reply and have a conversation back and forth, and which we did on a number of them videos. But this is the very first video where we are live in real time. As I said, I just cannot get it to work on my iPad. I can't find it, and obviously I'm doing an interview and I'm talking, so I can't mess around with it too much. But Anthony, it sounds like you've got it up and you can see it, so that's okay. So for anyone that is watching, I don't know if anyone still is, but this is the first time and we're just testing it. We are going to do a lot more on Twitch. However, it's not going to be as you can see us right now. This is our commercial animation. This is what we've been doing now for a couple of months, where we've been speaking to people in the animation industry, talking about the behind the scenes and production of animation, answering questions. But we have been talking to quite a few people. We talked to Scribbler, we talked to Mr. Kessler, we spoke to Gavin, who's also involved in. Pardon?
I think Gavin might actually have a live stream going on at the moment.
Well, I know he has a live stream that goes on every Friday, and I think that's under his Green Man Media moniker. Yeah. So we've been talking to a lot of people about Twitch, and I've been really excited just about create. And we've been working with a lot of people on Twitch, as you can see on the board behind your head. You can see Mr. Kessler, you can see Antho50, you can see Nibbles, who, he's not on Twitch, he's on Mixer. And also, I've just finished one for somebody called Kiri, lots of people. And so, it's really inspired me. I want to do something like that too. And we've been working on our own. We've been working on Chip and Pug. In fact, and would you be able to get the Chip and Pug, make the little Chip and Pug thing that we worked on? Like the little stamp thing come on. Is that something that you can do now, or is that
Is
set
it
up?
on YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube. I didn't know whether or not you could have, if you had...
No, that's set
something
up
simple.
on this computer.
Oh, right. Well, never mind.
we haven't got
Anyway,
that set up at the moment.
the point is, we've got 2 shows, but the main one that we're going to concentrate on first is Chip and Pug, or Chip versus Pug, which is basically about a little hamster and a little pug dog that play against each other on lots of different games. And those games, what games you think? What we're going to start?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Game
We've got to kind of figure out what we're going to start playing on first. It's either going to be StarCraft, Cuphead, or Fortnite. I think, just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, with Cuphead, obviously, that it isn't at the moment. You can't play online multiplayer. You can play locally multiplayer, but you can't play online. Though I do know you did a bit of a cheat so that we can, I can play with you online.
Yeah.
How well was that working? You think? How did you do that?
The GeForce. If you've got a GeForce graphic driver set up, you can use that to kind of allow someone to use your controls. So yeah, that'll do. We can get it working, or even we could both get into we still got local multiplayer, so we can we can get it working somehow. That won't be a problem.
I mean, Cuphead has only recently come out. I think it only came out a couple of weeks ago, and I've read online there's a huge demand, especially from the online gamers. There's a huge demand for a multiplayer online option. So you never know, they might update it soon.
They've said that they will be updating to multiplayer. I think it's just like an indie game. Generally, they don't go for network multiplayer, but I think because of the demand, it will be coming soon. So yeah, it might be in an update pretty soon. So we might hold out until that's done, because it'll make it easier for us to do our stream. But
well,
I think we'll probably just start off with StarCraft or Fortnite.
Yeah, I was about to say. I would vote for StarCraft first, and the reason is that it's easier to have a conversation with your audience as well when you're playing on StarCraft, because you can take your time and build up your base, and also you can get advice and strategy and all that sort of thing. Where with Fortnite, when you're running around, and also Fortnite, you can't really play against each other. It's not really a versus game, because there's like 100. There's 100 other people online. What are the chances of you finding each other? You'll be killed before I even come and find you.
No, but you can actually plan where to drop it. Like you can look on the map and make sure to meet up, and it can be done. And I think you can even set up
we'll give it
and stuff. We'll
give it goes. And how far off? We're pretty much ready to go on that, aren't we? In fact, we were going to do it tonight at one point.
Yeah, it's all set up, ready to go. So,
have you got Pug already then?
Yeah, he's ready. All just waiting to find time now. Get it sorted.
Probably, realistically, it'll probably be next week. Maybe next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we'll do next Tuesday. Hopefully be our first stream.
And also with Christmas coming up, we'll we take time off, so we'll have a bit more time. And also with Chip and Pug, it's not just going to be us two versus each other. We've got the idea of doing some spin-offs as well, where we'll use the characters to review games and comedy. So we got a few ideas, and also we got some other cartoons, and I think we've mentioned all them before, so we're not going to go on about it too much now. So again, I can't see what's going on Twitch. You seen any comments or anything like that?
Nope, no new comments. I don't think there's anyone watching currently at the moment. So
pardon? Oh no,
not?
I'm watching like that.
No.
Well, in that case, I do believe the snooker is about to come on the TV in about half hour, so I want to get off and watch the highlights. You been watching the snooker, Ant?
Nope.
What? Well, that was a short conversation then. I do like watching the snooker. I watch it all the time, and I'm very much up to date with it. And the thing with the BBC, they show it live at 1 o'clock during the day for the midday session, but they don't show the afternoon sessions. So I don't get to watch them live unless I've got Eurosport, and I'm not paying another 20 quid just to watch 1 week's worth of snooker. So I'm going to stay off the internet, try not to get the scores.
Nobody cares about snooker.